Something that's really important for creating a cohesive go-to-market strategy is integrating your back office data with HubSpot. I recently talked to Christian Young, who is one of our consultants, about how he and his team use Zapier to create invoices in QuickBooks whenever a HubSpot deal was won.
So currently how they have their process set up is they mainly use their deal pipeline here for quotes, and then they create quotes and then they send out invoices to their customer. Their current process is they're taking attachments and their purchase orders and their receipts, and they're manually having to create invoices over in QuickBooks, which is a lot of manual work because they have to add in all the details in the invoice, and it's just too much of a hassle for them. So they wanted to find a way to be able to generate quotes and invoices automatically in QuickBooks upon landing a deal in the closed won deal stage.
With their existing process, are they currently marking it closed one and then manually copying stuff
Yeah.
over?
Yeah, exactly. So what they're doing is they move a deal to closed won, and then they jump over to their QuickBooks, they create an invoice, and then they usually would have an attachment here that is like the receipt that they would have the purchase order and everything. And then they would manually copy and paste all the information, the line items, whatever the customer purchased into an invoice. And then they would send that to the customer.
Do you have any idea about the volume of invoices they're having to manually copy over?
Yeah, typically they're having to do somewhere around 50 invoices a week.
Oh,
So, and
wow.
manually by one person. And so that's like a lot of line items that they're having to put into these invoices and a lot of information. It's very tedious and they already have other things on their plate. So it's
Yeah,
just a
for sure.
very tedious process that they wanted to try to cut the middleman and just be very limited to where they can just jump over to QuickBooks and just add a couple of like specific details that isn't on the deal record itself. We're trying to cut out that part of them having to actually generate it and add a bunch of this just manual labor that can just be generated automatically.
It sounds like a revision of that process would add hours back into their week every single week.
Oh, yeah. We're using Zapier to essentially connect QuickBooks and HubSpot in order to create these invoices. So I'll hop over here to my Zapier. We're basing our trigger off of them entering the deal stage, which is their closed one. We're basically using a storage action here that will basically keep everything and put all the line items into the invoice rather than having them each their own separate one. First, we're going to get the deal from HubSpot, which is just grabbing all the properties that we need and that we worked with the client, such as billing address or typical things, invoice email, billing amount, PO number, whatever you want to pull in. The next action here is we are finding associations to companies. So this is how we're going to be pulling company information into the invoice. So if they have a completely new customer, this is what we can use in order to create that new customer. So we then get the company information, name, domain, and whatever other fields you want to add. And then we have a continue if. And this is essentially just making sure that the company ID exists. So if it doesn't exist, don't continue forward. A company has to be associated to a deal. Then we're going to do the same thing with contact association. So this is just to be able to grab the email field, which is how we're setting like unique records. And then the last piece that we're pulling in from HubSpot is the line items that are on the deal itself. So the line items is, as it sounds, is the line items that are also going to display on the invoice. We're then going to see if we can find the customer in QuickBooks, see if they already exist. And in the case that they don't exist, we're going to create a new one with the information that we pulled from the company and the contact records. So then we're going to create a loop because since there's multiple line items, we want to make sure we are grabbing all the line items and putting them on the invoice. It's going to make sure it goes through and captures each of the line items that are being presented, and then making sure they're all put in a storage space that it can be associated back to the invoice that we're creating in QuickBooks. We push the ID into an array. We're just keeping these all tied together in a storage. We put the ID in the price as well, because that's going to be part of the line item. And then we're also pulling in the quantity as well. So then you can pull any relevant information you want, the ID of the customer, the primary email address, the billing address, the terms. Then what we're going to do is just make sure we remove all those values and the storage by Zap. Just take them out of there. Now I'll hop over to QuickBooks. Essentially what you're going to do once you go to your QuickBooks, and then you'll see that it pulls in the quantity and it pulls in each of the products and any other information that we need.
This is incredible.
Yeah, it's really cool. Using the Zap storage really was the key here.
This is awesome. All right. Thank you, Christian. If you enjoyed this video, please like and subscribe to our YouTube channel. And if you're thinking about integrating your back office data with HubSpot, feel free to reach out to me on LinkedIn.